Welcome to Musical Miles, the podcast where every mile has a melody and every song has a story. We're your hosts, Byron and Shanda Duffin, traveling the highways and backroads of America to sit down with songwriters, artists, and music makers who bring the soundtrack of our lives to life. From dive bars and listening rooms to legendary stages and music festivals, we go where the music is made, because every song has a journey and every artist has a story worth telling. So climb in, buckle up, and join us for another unforgettable ride. This is Musical Miles.
All right, let's just do that one. There's an old line shack cabin high up in the timbers, above the big meadows on the Arizona line, between the lions and cattle and Indian battles. Beware wild cowboys was carved on the sign. Most now are gone, but a few still remember. Wild horses, wild women, wild country life. Now it ain't just the rattlers around here that'll get you. Bankers and lawyers, foreclosure signs. Brands on the wall, holes in the tin. Still standing tall, she ain't never caved in. Tougher than the timber or the cast iron stove that kept the fires burning through the White Mountain cold. Beware wild cowboys carved on the sign. No, it ain't just a sign, but a sign of the times. Outlaws and ramblers, cowpunchers and gamblers, echoes of ghosts went through the pines. Where's Geronimo's stallion, outer in the battalion? From the White Mountains to the Mexico line. Brands on the wall, holes in the tin. Still standing tall, she ain't never caved in. Tougher than the timber of the cast iron stove, kept the fires burning through the White Mountain cold. Beware wild cowboys carved on the sign. No, it ain't just a sign, but a sign of the times. Like the old songs and stories, long faded glories, land sectioned off, sold by the foot. Can't believe she's still standing from the gunfights and brands. Words carved in a cedar, time overlooked. Beware wild cowboys was carved on the sign. No, it ain't just a sign, but a sign of the times.
Oh, yeah. Zach McGinn.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you, man.
Welcome to Musical Miles Podcast. We are in Gillette, Wyoming at the Dustyvaquerodays, and you've been playing today. You played with your trio.
Yes, sir. The Moonhowlers.
The Moonhowlers,
Yeah.
which is Ross Cooper and Hayden Redwine, who both have been on the podcast with us. Great guys.
Yeah.
Ross's father-in-law, we actually interviewed him. I don't know.
Oh man, Joe
Leather.
I've not met him in person, but he's one of my favorite songwriters ever.
Scoot this up a little bit closer to you. We got to sit down with him in Nashville at Curb Word Records, and what a cool guy. And he told me about Ross at the time, and I had a little bit of a recollection of Ross when he was rodeoing.
Right.
But anyway, and I said, well, one of these days we're going to get a chance to sit down with him. And we were supposed to be there in January when they had the big ice storm, and we ended up canceling and didn't get to. So, but I knew he was coming here, and we were coming. So, but we're this is such a cool event, and you guys are headlining tonight with your other band, Dolly Shine.
Yeah. So, man, what a great event just to start with. Like Jake, the mastermind beyond all this stuff, he just started such a great, wonderful event to bring all these like-minded people from all over the country, Canada, and likewise, just all over, just to bring them together to do this thing. And I feel it's just a blessing for us to be here in general. But man, what a pleasure!
It's cool because it's unique compared to all other festivals, because you had to be involved somehow, some way, form or fashion in the ag or livestock industry.
Right.
So how's your relationship fit into that?
So I've grown up ranching on both sides of my family, I guess my mother's and my father's side, and that's what I've done since I quit touring, playing music. That's what I've done the last probably 10, 12 years. I've come back home to help.
And you currently live?
A little town in West Texas, just below San Angelo. Yeah.
Okay, the town called?
Sterling City.
Sterling City,
yes.
Okay. I bought a horse off a guy by the name of Corwin Collins in San Angelo, Texas, years ago. She's an own daughter of Doc's Hot Rodder.
Yeah.
And I did a little horse trading with Corwin, and Ginger was his wife's name, and we traded for that mare, and she was cool. I used to ride cutters and stuff.
Very cool.
So anyway, but yeah, and then we went through San Angelo not this past fall, but the fall before, fall of 24.
Okay, right.
We made a trip to Texas to do interviews for our podcast.
Yeah, very cool.
And got to meet some great artists while we were down there, and did some cool interviews. Got to interview 3 artists in Green Hall, which was
fantastic
legendary.
Place. Yep.
So, but you live in the heart of music country. I mean, San Angelo's a little bit out, or Sterling City's probably a little out of the circle, but you're not too far from
outer skirts. But I would think that it sparks creativity because the sparseness. Like you kind of have to.
Well, just like that song you just
entertain yourself,
Yeah, the song you just sang for us. So your wife is from Springerville, Arizona,
right?
Which is just down the road from where my wife is from, in Sholo, Arizona.
Just about.
And so your father-in-law was
Greg Beeler.
Yeah. And that's an old Arizona name. Shanda's a descendant of the Reedhead family, and the Reedheads have cut a wide swath in that Arizona ranching country. And she grew up in her old ancestral home there, right on the Deuce Clubs in Sholo. Cool. And anyway, but yeah, it brings back a lot of cool memories.
Yeah, man, I guess in the last 10, 12 years, I've just fallen in love with that part of Arizona. The White Mountains is just such a beautiful area.
Yeah, and that song you told us about before we started is actually a true story. It's about an actual cabin that exists.
It's a cabin that's been there since the 1800s. I don't know the exact date, but I know like if you walk into it, it's a door in the center, and then you've got like a little common area or like a dog run, and then it's divided, and you've got 2 rooms, one on either side, and a little fireplace on each side. But when you walk in, all over the doors and the walls and everything, there are brands and names of all the cowboys and the years that they worked there through that line shack camp. And it's just very cool.
And the name of the ranch again?
Bar Flying V was the name of the ranch that they were on. Yeah, and that's some forest permit country, I believe. Or no, maybe that's private.
Might be private, okay.
Yeah, I think maybe that's private. I don't know all the history of all that. Yeah. But I know that cabin is a very secluded
Well, I guarantee you Miss Shanda's dad, Carl, would have known the stories and the people that worked out there. Yeah, I'm sure he had. Well, he's long gone as well. But, somebody's got to, keep those stories alive. And that's how we do it. It's through music.
Right. Yeah, I think traditionally, like throughout the years, that's how this all continues. It's just storytelling.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. Well, it's just interesting because no matter whether you're from West Texas and Turkey, Texas, the home of Bob Wills, and
Sure.
there's so much history there. And Lubbock is the home of Buddy Holly, and
Yeah, everywhere you go, there's a little piece of history somewhere. There's something unique about any area that you drive through, anywhere that you're at. That's why, like I love driving down the road anywhere where I'm at. If you see a historical sign, you stop and read it.
Yeah.
Just to see what happened there.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And even though Texas is old, it's got a lot of older history than where we live in Idaho, but still a lot of great history and a lot of cool things happening. Lewis and Clark made their way through Idaho and Sacagawea. So, and there's been, and it's been documented by music, by artists like yourself and so many guys that are here playing this weekend.
Oh yeah. But like for myself, man, I've been in love with history since I was a kid.
Yeah.
And I think it just tells the story of, where we come from. And without knowing where we came from, it's hard to know who we are.
And where we're going.
And then where we're going.
And if you're not careful, if you don't know your history, you're liable to repeat it.
Yes.
So I think there's a lot to be learned and a lot to be said about that. Tell me about your musical journey, though. So when did you get started playing the guitar and singing?
So I guess I kind of gained an interest with it when I was about 10 or so. And my uncle kind of played in some honky-tonk bands, lead guitar and stuff like that throughout, my whole childhood, and shit, he even still does now.
Sure.
But that's kind of where I gained the interest from it. And I've had multiple family members on both sides, like my grandmother on my dad's side played the church and sang, or played the piano and sang in church, sorry.
Sure.
And, just different things like that. And I think my dad taught me 2 or 3 chords, and from there I was just hooked, became a junkie. It was over.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's cool because you had that background growing up. I didn't have that exposure. Miss Shanda's mom was a songwriter.
Right.
Cool. She had a standard grand piano in the house, and so she'd play. She couldn't read music, but she could play anything you could hum to her. So, and if she'd heard it once, she could play it.
Yeah,
and
that's the best way.
And I love that. I'm not quite that. I'm working on getting my ear, but I tell everybody, I've told this story to everybody I've interviewed this weekend. I picked up a rope and a guitar at 15.
There you go.
And the rope won. And so I stuck with the rope, and I had the chance to rodeo rope calves and team roped, and then I started riding cutters, and we had horses throughout our life. I spent 13 years in the cowboy rope business. So we've been immersed in this Western world and Western lifestyle and the cowboy world, and there's nothing better.
Oh man, it's the best.
Yeah.
I think if you're blessed to be part of this life, then you're damn sure blessed.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and the music just makes it. That's a cherry on top as far as we're concerned. I mean, perfect example. Just being here this weekend, you've got guys like Dave Stamey. What a guy! We had the pleasure of interviewing him in Elko at the Cowboy Poetry Gathering a year ago. But he's such a gentleman. Every time he sees us, he comes up, shakes our hand, and
he's such a gentleman. Yeah. He's such a hell of a songwriter.
Oh
fantastic.
My gosh.
He's a master guitar player.
Yes. And and he's very humble about that. I tell him the same thing. I said, well, I'm learning. I love Campfire Waltz and Buckaroo Man and some of those.
Sure.
And they're all pretty simple chords, right? And he goes, well, nothing's complicated if I wrote it, But I said, yeah, but the way you play it.
But it's the way he plays it, the way he dresses it up, man.
Yeah.
Like, to me, like Dave is probably the best living cowboy performer, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he was there with a lot of the legends, Ian Tyson and Don Edwards, and some of those greats, and there's some good ones. I will
say, there are still some great poets and all those guys that are still out there. But as far as like musical performers in the cowboy world, don't get me wrong, there are so many fantastic ones.
Sure.
And this is just a biased opinion, but Dave is where
well, we all have our favorites, right?
Sure.
And so we delved pretty deep into his music, especially when I was in the rope business and we traveled doing sales trips. And and back in those days, you still had CD players, so you plug in the CD and listen to all his great songs, Buckaroo Man, and there's just so many I can't even call them. But he's just such a class act. You know? And
that's what sets him apart.
And the other thing is songwriting wise, and I had this conversation, I ask a lot of artists this, well, do you like to collaborate or do you like to write? He said writing is a very personal thing for him.
Sure.
And he didn't even write his first song till he was 30.
I heard that, Andy Hedges is
I've met Andy
and I heard that on Andy's podcast, and I was like, wow.
Yeah, 30 years old. Well, he thought he was going to be the next great American novelist, right? And he said, he wanted to be Hemingway and write those great novels.
Yeah.
And he said it just never happened. I said, well, is there anything still in print? He says, God, I hope not. He said, I wouldn't want anybody to read it. But it really put him in a position. I told him, I said, a lot of songwriters write with a pretty broad stroke. I said, yours is very fine. He writes with I compared him to a pen and ink, just those fine lines, and he brings things so vivid to life.
He's an artist.
Yeah,
he
truly.
Is, man.
Yeah.
And he gives, not writing really those first great songs till 32 or whatever. It gives hopes to the older guys like me, in this Texas Americana scene, that there's still hope yet. You keep going.
Well, another great songwriter, and she's not in this Americana Texas, but she's a Texan, Liz Rose. Liz Rose didn't write her first song until she's 37.
Yeah.
And we have not sat down with her yet, but we've met her and know her, and we're going to sit down with her in August at the Songwriter Festival in Las Vegas. But such a talented lady, and but there's so many talented. That's the challenge we have, and I tell this to a lot of people, is that we only have so many hours in a day to listen to music and to get prepared. And once again, I'm embarrassed to say I never really got to listen to much Dolly Shine stuff. So I've listened to some of it.
That happens. But hey, here we are today.
Yeah, here we are
tonight.
I damn sure will have a chance tonight, and I look forward to it. And I love the connection.
Yeah, great connection.
So, tell me more about your guitar playing and what really motivated you to. Who did you listen to that really motivated you, your music wise? Who inspired you?
I think probably in the rudimentary stages, just watching my uncle and my great uncle and folks like that pick around, and just the guys locally right there. And then later on, I think it was probably guys who I got an opportunity to see in concert, those boys from Oklahoma, like Ragweed and Bolin and stuff like that. I think the first time I heard Ragweed, I was probably 12.
Wow.
And then that was the gateway into like Bolin and Pat Green, and then it just went on from there.
Yeah.
And then I discovered the real greats like Robert Earl Keen and Guy Clark and all that stuff. And then once I heard Guy, man, it was over for me.
Yeah.
Like that was just it.
Yeah.
I was just ruined from there. I didn't want to do anything else.
Well, he was such a talented songwriter, and to hear those stories, that's what I was fortunate enough to meet Lyle Lovett 25 years ago, and I've not been able to get him to sit down yet. He's agreed at some point we'll get to have him on the podcast, but one of my favorite songs is Lyle's version of Guy Clark's song "Step Inside This House."
Yeah.
I love that song.
Version of that song.
And Guy hated the fact that he played it. I don't know if you ever heard that story.
I never heard that story.
He said he'd played a gig somewhere with him, and they were in the elevator going back up to the room, and he said, "I wish you'd quit playing that." He said, "Why?" He said, "It's such a great song." And supposedly that was Guy's first song he ever wrote.
Oh, shit, it might have been.
And he said, it was my first one. It's not that good. And he goes, if that's an example of someone's first song, that's a great example of a first song. But I'm with you. I love Guy Clark. I love his LA Freeway, and I love the Cape. And
I think the Cape. Shoot, that might be right up there for me.
Yeah, and something as simple as Stuff That Works.
Yeah, shoot, that's
a great song
right there.
And I didn't know this. I just found this out the other day. Do you know who co-wrote that with him?
No.
Rodney Crowell.
Really?
And Rodney Crowell
that's not surprising. Yeah,
Rodney Crowell's playing next week at a songwriter festival in Colorado that we're going to.
Oh, heck yeah.
And we're hoping we get to sit down with him. But I just love that song. And that's, once again, I picked up the guitar at 62 again, after I finally laid the rope down, and because we don't own any horses anymore, and we kind of chasing this music deal. I thought, I need to. Well, before we started the podcast, I started playing again, and I told Chanda, I said, one of these days I'm going to retire and need something to do when I wake up in the morning. And so that gets me out of bed.
Yeah, that's
that guitar.
good, man.
So,
and like music, whether you fall in love with it at 5 or 50, I think it just has a way of circling back around.
Yeah.
It'll find its way back to you.
well, it's been our true love, for our entire marriage. We even when I worked, and whether I was in the rope business or I ran manufacturing companies, but when we got to where we could afford to travel and go to Mile Zero Fest in Key West,
Sure.
or go to Highway 30 or the Braun Brothers reunion, we went to those deals because of the music, and then we found new artists to fall in love with, like William Clark Green and American Aquarium and some of those different bands that.
Well, isn't that the beautiful thing about festivals, though?
Oh yeah.
You go and you go for the music that you love, but you discover so many artists that you're fixing to love for a very long time.
Sure.
And then that's such a beautiful thing, man.
Right. Well, and that's what we hope is that we get to introduce people who aren't here, and we hope that you follow next year. You follow us to Gillette and come to this event, but that we're able to introduce them to your music and to lots of these other artists. Cat Hasty.
Yeah, Cat Hasty, Ty Stelk, Colton Jesse. I mean, Kate Hoffman. There's so many greats here. Ross Cooper, Hayden Redwine. Ross,
man, preparing for this, I started listening to Ross's music, and I fell in love with his Live at Hotel Turkey.
Ross has been a good friend of mine for the last several years, and he doesn't need his tires pumped any more than we already give him, but he's such a fantastic songwriter, and he just has such a way with words. He's a storyteller.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably what drew me to his songwriting first, was the storytelling aspect. And if you tell him how great I think his songwriting is, I might have to kill you.
Oh, I would never do that. What I loved was as I listened to that, because he did an introduction to each song and kind of how they came about, and loved the old fashioned way. I loved the song, but he wrote it with Aaron Ratier. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
You know Aaron?
I don't know.
So Aaron wrote "You Look Like You Love Me" with Ella Lang.
Okay, yeah.
He also wrote "4x4 by You" with Lainey Wilson.
Okay.
And he also wrote "I'll Never Love Again," that was in A Star Is Born. And he won a Grammy with Lady Gaga.
Okay.
And he's such a unique guy. He's such a character. But they were on their way home from Austin, and they ended up on the same plane. But they ended up talking, and he said they tried to schedule rights and had never got it done. And they ran into each other, and they were on the same flight. Well, they ended up sitting in the same row, and they wrote that song on the plane with no instruments. And he says they were, and if you don't know, I've interviewed Aaron Ratier, and he is a pistol. That guy's just hilarious. But those two, just to have him tell the story about how they wrote it is just cool.
Oh, I imagine it is. Like, just knowing Ross, like, he's such creative and he's so quick.
Yeah.
Like, we wrote a song on a solo record of mine, and we wrote it through text message without ever playing a single note. I think it was just passing lyrics back and forth, and we built this song, and it ended up becoming one of my favorite songs on the record. But yeah, he's such a creative.
What song is that?
Man, why can I not think of it right now?
I'm Peter's bad as me, because I'll forget your name before we get to the end of the podcast
today. It happens. But yeah, my point being, like, Ross is just such a quick creative. Like, it's just fantastic. And like from there, I think that was the first song that we wrote together probably ever. And then now, like, this Moonhowlers thing, like, we'll sit down, like, me and him and Hayden, and we'll do, like, he's living in Nashville and Hayden's everywhere, and I'm at home right now, so that's kind of the way we have to write. But
sure.
With BSing and getting started with introductions and ideas for the songs and everything, we're having like 2-hour sessions, and we're knocking a song out like per.
Well, what I heard today of your set was phenomenal. You guys are so talented.
Thank you, man. It's like I said, I was telling you earlier, like, I'm having more fun with this project right now with this Moonhowlers group than I've had in a long time.
Well, and Hayden has such a unique voice.
He does, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think that's a pretty good blend there with the three of you.
It is. Yeah.
Cool. So, are you planning on getting back on the road and doing some touring with Dolly Shine and with the Moonhowlers?
Yeah, probably a little bit with Dolly Shine. We since we started doing the reunion shows, we haven't really quit.
Sure.
We do 2 to 3 to 5 of those a year, just depending on how many we want. Not very many.
Sure.
Like this year, so far, this is the one.
Okay.
That we're going to do this year. And then the Moonhowlers thing, that it kind of seems to be taking off. There have been some fantastic opportunities that we're not really at liberty to talk about just at this moment, but things already for this year that are happening that we'll be able to announce sometime in the near future. But yeah, I think that's kind of what we're chasing.
Cool.
Right now.
Well, that's exciting.
Yeah,
that's exciting. How now? But you're still working on the ranch and helping at the ranch.
Yes, sir. That's what I do every day.
For a living, and that's nice to have that security, right? As an artist, as a musician, because not everybody has that.
It is, very, very blessed with that. I toured for a long time and only toured. And then when my wife and I started kind of getting ready to have kids, I wanted to be home.
Yeah.
I didn't want to miss my children growing up. That's
tough. And I was fortunate enough to be pretty close, but I missed a lot of stuff because of my jobs that I had. You end up missing birthdays and funerals and weddings and
so many things with all different kinds of jobs. But I feel like in this way of life, the agricultural thing, it's not always a monetary thing that makes you blessed, but it's the experiences that you still get to have. Your day-to-day stuff. It's the lifestyle that affords you to be able to live. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
I get to be home every day with my kids. I get to ask my boys how their day in school was.
Yeah.
I get to help my daughters, figure out how to write their name
in cursive. Which that was a lost art for a hot minute.
Yeah.
In fact, we used to tease our middle children, or actually our youngest, that we could really cripple an entire generation if we wrote only in cursive and made them drive stick shift cars.
Yeah.
Because
this generation coming up might be in a lot of trouble.
They are in a lot of trouble because you get in a car and have to figure out how to push in a clutch.
Yeah. But I promise you, my boys can drive a stick shift, and they will all be writing cursive.
Yeah, I love that.
Things I love like that. So
yeah, that is such a lost art. We'd write notes, and our kids would look and go, "What is that?"
Yeah, like this foreign language.
Yeah. So, well, cool. Well, so you're constantly writing. You're always working on new stuff, especially with the Moonhowlers.
I'm never not writing, I guess.
Really?
Like maybe I've got a piece of something here and there that I'm kind of always working on, or I'm always, if I'm not writing at the moment, I'm collecting ideas.
Yeah.
And I just prefer that to kind of be from my everyday life experience.
Because you're out in the ranch, you're on the ranch, and you're kind of, like you said, on the fringe. Do you find yourself still doing things the old way? You write in a journal? Do you write on paper, or are you using your phone?
So
or a little bit of both.
For quick, like if I am out somewhere where I need to write a quick note and I don't have like my cow book or something with me where I can just write it down, my phone is my first go-to. But then as soon as I get home and I start working, I might not touch these ideas for months. Or a year. Or sometimes it's that night, like if it really just drives me that much. You just never know. But if I start working on it, I'm still old school in the way that I have to have it written down physically on a piece of paper in front of me, or I'm not going to retain it.
I like that. I think that, well, I'm a little bit that way even with names, because if I don't see a name written down, that's why I had to ask you a couple of times, and I'll do that as I do interviews. Like, and when I meet someone, I mean, immediately you can tell me your name, and immediately I forget it.
Yeah, well,
unless I see it written down or I repeat it multiple times in my head. But Zach McGinn.
Yeah. So
okay.
All my notes
I got to do that
festival,
halfway through this.
all my notes for this whole festival. I think I've got like 40 songs that I've got to do over the course of today.
Okay. Wow.
Everything's handwritten in a spiral, just so that I can make sure that I've got it all down.
And yeah, that's cool. I got to ask you about your kids. So are your kids musical? Are they picking it up? Are they having any interest in it?
All four of them are definitely interested in it. My little 4-year-old girl, she's constantly just making songs up on her own. Either that or she remembers lyrics so easily.
Really?
I'm like, man, I wish I had that quick of a memory.
Yeah.
And then Little Britches, my 3-year-old, she's a dancing fool right now. She's just got natural rhythm to her. And both my boys love playing the guitar and love songs.
How old are they?
The twin boys are 9.
Okay.
Yep. I've got twin boys that are 9, a girl that's fixing to turn 5 in July, and a little girl that just turned 3 in the springtime.
Oh, cool. Well, you got a lot of years ahead of you with a lot of fun, a lot of memories.
Yes.
A lot of memories. So we're on the grandkids now.
Are you?
Yeah, we have 4 kids and 9 grandkids and a great grandchild.
Very cool.
So, we've
what a blessing.
Oh,
what a blessing.
And we hope that sharing the music with them
Sure
resonates.
Yeah.
So, in fact, we've bought several of them guitars, and we have every summer we have Shanda has cousin camp.
Okay.
And so last summer I said, okay, y'all bring your guitars, So this is Glam On, I'm Cowboy. So I said, we're going to sit down and we're going to play some songs. And it's like herding cats. But
yeah, I understand that.
But it's fun, and we hope that they all like to sing karaoke.
Right.
But they like to sing stuff we don't really particularly care for.
Yeah, hey, but it's not always necessarily the song. Maybe it's just the fact that they're loving the music, right?
Yeah. Well, that's important, is that they love the music. And we have a very eclectic taste in music.
Sure.
We're here, a lot of cowboy music, a lot of unique songs that are sung here that are really livestock, rancher, farmer oriented, which are storytelling songs. And then Wednesday we're headed to Colorado to the Grand Mesa, the Songwriter Festival. But Wednesday night we're staying in Salt Lake and we're going to see Lil Jon and Pitbull.
Hey, you know what? That's great.
So, we got to spread our wings a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
A little bit outside my wheelhouse, but Miss Shanda loves Pitbull, and she met Lil Jon is sponsored by Stetson Clothing.
Okay,
so,
wow.
So he came into their booth at the NFR this past year and
Very cool.
Invited them all to come to the show.
Right.
And we're in fact, I might have to go lay down and have a nap before your show tonight to stay awake that late.
I might have to too.
We tell everybody we need concerts for old people, so that we got to see Coulter Wall at the NFR this year, and man, it was a struggle to stay awake till that thing started. So,
right, I guess Hayden and myself have been fortunate to go out on the road with Coulter when it's not like Vegas style shows.
Right.
I like his shows because he sets them up for people from y'all's age and on down to myself, who believes that a show can be over by 10 o'clock and probably should be.
Yeah, most people. Now you get to Vegas, that's a city that never sleeps.
It's a whole different world.
It's all different, and even during the rodeo, that they call it Cowboy Town for a reason, and they roll in there, and all those great artists. I mean, we've seen everybody from Shane Smith and the Saints to El King to Coulter and on and on. Andrea Bocelli. During the NFR. So, but we just love music.
I think that's fantastic, man, because after all, isn't that what connects all of us?
Yeah, it truly is. Yeah. So, well, man, we appreciate you taking the time.
Well, thank you for your time.
I've got a couple of questions that I always ask everybody.
Okay.
So, first question, favorite venue. Doesn't have to be the biggest, best, maybe the most memorable venue that you've ever played.
The Blue Light in Lubbock, Texas.
We've not been there. We've been to Lubbock and been to Cook's, but I've got to get back there.
Which I love Cook's too, so I'm not going to hate on anywhere I've ever been. But
but all the legends came out of the Blue Light.
The Blue Light helped shape us.
Oh, Pat Green, Randy Rogers.
This whole scene. If you were a songwriter from Texas in the last 30 years, you came through and you played the Blue Light and you earned your stripes because you had to build a crowd in Lubbock. It wasn't just one of those things where it was a gimme.
Right.
But once you got them,
they were there for life.
They were faithful.
Yeah.
But whole careers have been built out of Lubbock, Texas.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think I don't know, it's always been a there are multiple others across the country.
Sure.
But Blue Light, I think, was probably the first one for me.
Cool.
So I'm going to stick with that.
All right. I like that one. All right. The second question, I like that. It's a 2-part.
Okay.
If you could wake up tomorrow and have the opportunity to work with anybody, dead or alive. So you got, it's two parts. So you got to pick a dead person, which you're not going to get to. But if you could go back in history and pick somebody that really resonated with you that's no longer living, who would that be? Musically.
Guy Clark.
Okay.
Hands down.
Yeah, cool. And alive. That you have not had the opportunity to meet or work with yet.
Not had the opportunity to meet or work with yet.
Yeah.
Steve Earle.
Okay. Which is cool because, Cody Braun sat there yesterday. And, he talked about what an influence Steve Earle was on their music early.
Right.
And then they had the opportunity to work with Steve in the last few years.
Yeah.
And that's cool.
Been blessed to work with some very, very influential artists. They were much larger than us, and obviously were the reason why we all started. But Steve, I think, is one of those guys, just fantastic songwriter. What a
Copperhead
legendary artist.
Road.
Yeah, man, so great.
Yeah. Well, those are great answers. Cool. Well, man, thanks again. This has been cool.
Man, it's been my pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you for allowing me to sit down with you guys and talk for a little bit.
Cool. Hey, from Musical Miles Podcast, I'm your host, Byron Duffin, here with... See, I knew I was going to do this. Zach McGinn. God.
Yeah.
See, I told you I'd screw it up. I called it halfway through so I wouldn't screw it up.
Hey,
and I did.
But you got it before.
Zach McGinn, and we are in Gillette, Wyoming at the Dusty Vaquero Days. Yeah. What a cool event. Come next year. Put it on your bucket list. Yep. If we don't see you in Gillette, we'll see you somewhere down the road. Adios for now.
Adios.
This episode of Musical Miles Podcast is sponsored by Stetson, a true symbol of Western heritage and American craftsmanship. For generations, Stetson has stood for quality, style, and authenticity. Stetson, built for those who live the music and the lifestyle.